Dear friends, in the universe there is a great mystery, and the mystery is that there is something instead of nothing, that something exists. In the universe there is life, light, and consciousness. Life dances and moves, and how did all this come about? It is important first to marvel at the mystery of life, light, and consciousness. These elements cannot exist in isolation. Where there is life, there is also light and consciousness. Light makes life manifest. In light there is a driving force that causes consciousness to rise until it reaches a point where it can reflect upon itself, become self-conscious. When consciousness reaches that point, life becomes conscious and is able to shape itself. Life can then choose and progress, and that is when the formation of a self takes place. This is how the soul is born. But I will take a step back to describe the principles of life, light, and consciousness. Where do they come from? What is the origin of life? In the lap of the cosmos there is a void, a breathing emptiness, a fullness and silence. Such is the origin of life, and you can connect to that origin by breathing silently. When you breathe in silence and stillness and bring your attention to the air coming in and going out, you connect to the primordial source of being. This silent beginning, the basis of all life, is still present in each of you. It lives and breathes within you, regardless of what you do or do not do. The origin, the beginning, that emptiness from which everything comes, still exists within you. When you realize this, you free yourself and loosen the boundaries of who you are. The relative and dual nature of your individuality is revealed. In that initial space, individuality does not yet exist. There is no single soul. There is only pure is or being. Feel the mystery of that all-encompassing being. Without that foundation of being, you do not exist. It permeates and nourishes you. And in what does it consist? In that silence lives the breath of God. God is indeterminate, indefinite, and unlimited. He lacks form. He is that which is not individualized. God is conscious of everything, but in that vast field of infinite consciousness that is God, there are pockets or hollows where a lack of consciousness predominates. This absence of consciousness makes it possible for life to develop and prosper. God, that which is, has created places where life is unconscious and from which a desire for consciousness can evolve and grow into the light. You are located in one of those gaps in the field of consciousness that is God. God had to create a lesser consciousness in order that individuality could emerge. To create an individual life, God had to resort to something paradoxical, since in its essence, God is everything. Everything that exists is in God, both the possible and the impossible. Therefore, God had to create places of lesser consciousness to allow the birth of the soul. The soul is a definite and limited consciousness that finds its way through time and space, always seeking that union with God from which it was born. The birth of the soul was a leap into the darkness of oblivion. By creating consciousness at the level of individuality, something new, something great is created in God. A living consciousness that grows, that is dynamic and evolves, and life is change, it is a becoming. When consciousness includes everything, it also includes all possibilities, so there cannot be a dynamic growth from unconsciousness to full consciousness. This dynamic process is the only thing that generates light in the spiral of the soul's growth, from its birth to its youth and from there to its maturity. And that growth in the field of time and space is what adds up to God consciousness. The soul lives in a love relationship with God. God is the source of the soul, its foundation or matrix, and the goal for which the soul strives. And God creates the soul to take pleasure in the soul's desire to become and in the depth of feeling that results. The mystery is that, in that way, God himself becomes visible, tangible, and experiential through the individual consciousness that the soul carries with it. Such is the purpose of the birth of the soul. The soul is impelled to lose itself in the voids of consciousness, at least in part. This is a must on its path, for it is important that it reaches its goal and returns in full freedom to divine consciousness, to omniscience, to full knowledge. Therefore, evil in quotation marks, that which you consider evil also in quotation marks, must be part of its journey. When the soul tends towards the principle, with capital letters, towards the essence of what it is, towards the divinity in it, it is precisely in that emptiness, in the unlimited and absolute nature of God's being, that it experiences its liberation, and it is then that the soul returns home. Light and darkness are inherent elements of the soul's journey. The play of light and shadow is generated because God withdraws his consciousness or hides it in certain places in the cosmos and gives the soul carte blanche there. In fact, the creation of the soul consists of a contraction, a shrinking of consciousness. This, however, has a purpose, for it is precisely in that contraction that there is a movement, an important and valuable process of realization that generates light. Light arises where individualized consciousness opens to the divine source. As the light intensifies, as the consciousness continues to grow, and the connection with the One is better perceived, the contraction gradually gives way to full consciousness. The essence of creation consists in this interplay between contraction and omniscience. It is in that dance between the two poles that God reaches its fullest expression. With much love, Jeshua.